Hello, welcome to Sun TV's A Conversation with the Candidates. Today we have two great Conway School Board candidates running for a 3-year seat and a 1-year seat. There's lots of seats available, 4 seats available out of 7. That works out to a pretty high percentage. So today we've got Mike DiGregorio, who's currently on the Conway School Board. He's seeking the 1-year term. There's only one 1-year term. We've got Melanie Lebel, who has served on the school board in the past. She's back, and I'm happy she's back. She's one of 4 candidates running for 3 3-year seats. So guys, thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, happy to have you. And how's the campaigns going? What are we, 2 weeks away? Less than 2 weeks away from voting day? And I've only seen a couple of signs out. Are you guys putting up signs, or you thinking about it? Or
I may put up some this weekend. I'm not a big fan of putting up signs. I don't like putting them up too early. I don't like putting them on the side of the road. Usually I wait within a week or so of the election, and my wife wanted to put them up this weekend, so you may see a few.
Mm-hmm. Mel, you got signs?
Very similar. I have my old signs.
Do you
and
still?
We just kind of thought, wait a week or two before, because snow, weather, plows,
It's
everything.
going to rain for Easter, so
Yep.
you don't want to get them ruined.
Well,
I think they'll be all right.
right.
So is this old hat for you guys? I mean, Mike, you've been on the school board for almost 3 decades. Well, 3 decades ago you were on the school board for the first time, and now you're just wrapping up 3 years, is it?
3.5.
3.5?
I came in.
You got appointed, right?
I got appointed in the middle or the end of somebody else had left, and I got appointed to finish out their term. I think it was like 6 months left on their term. And then I recognized that there was some need to stay, so I did that. I put in for the 3-year spot and stayed.
Uh-huh. And why the one? You're running for the 1 year. You got an opponent, Nicole Stanley. I'll point out she's respectfully declined to appear on Sun TV. I sent her some questions, so hopefully she'll respond to those. But she didn't want to do TV, and that's okay. So why the 1 year, Mike?
So it really comes down to, I've been doing this for a long time. I think the first time I ran for office was in the late 80s. And I've been on most of the boards in town with the exception of the police department, I think in the ZBA. My wife has felt, though I've put a lot of time in, if you're going to do this job properly, it does take a tremendous amount of time. So between work and doing school board stuff, I think we have, 14 subcommittees on the school board, something like that. And not that I'm assigned to all of them, but it really takes a tremendous amount of time. And so I compromised with my wife. There's a few things that I want to finish out. I clearly want to finish out tuition contracts, which I hope we get into. And there's no question that I want to get the John Fuller situation resolved, which benefits the town.
That sounds good.
So.
And Mel, you're coming back. That's good.
Yeah.
What was it that said, I'm ready to run again?
Well, there's some things going on that I'm a parent, so I hear lots of things, and there have been a lot of situations where I feel like using my voice to support others will be very useful right now.
Oh, good. What are some of those issues that are paramount for you?
We've had a lot of families leave the district. We've had, obviously, staffing issues. But, there's a lot, bullying, but there's also kids that are thriving and doing really, really well and will do well and are becoming great adults. But there are a lot of families that are just kind of being left behind, and I'd love to see some of that picked up.
Mm-hmm. That sounds good. So I should have opened by, tell the audience a little bit about yourselves. Mel, you're a Freiburg alumni, right?
I am.
Crossing the state line, a Raider, coming home.
Rivals. But yes, so I've been in Conway for about 20 years, Center Conway and North Conway combined. Mm-hmm. When I started my family with my husband, we moved here and been here for my oldest's whole life, and we started a business here. And
Lebel Electric.
Yeah, so we got our roots here, and we're stuck.
Yeah, and Kevin, your husband, is on the budget committee, so
yep.
You haven't been going to the budget committee meetings for date night, have you? Or?
Oh gosh, no.
The stories he could tell from budget committee. And Mike, you're the Conway School Board's representative to the budget committee, so you see probably more of Kevin than Mel.
I do, actually. I was just mentioning to Melanie that I thought Kevin did a great job this year on the budget committee. He asked some good questions, and
It's hard coming right onto a board as a newbie, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is. In the past, there's been a group that were very anti-school, and I think this year, for the first time in a long time, there was a group of people on the budget committee that I think asked the best questions ever to help them get to the decision of whether they would support the budget or not, without the animosity against the school system that sometimes encompasses or goes along with some of those questions. They did really well.
Yeah. So you're Kennedy Eagle, class of 80?
80. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Boy, you got your 75th reunion coming up in like 15 years.
Yeah. No kidding.
I'm teasing.
Yeah, I mean, I've lived here just about all my life. I was Kennan alumni.
Yeah.
Just love the area. My wife and I always say when we travel around, and we do like to travel around, we just have not seen any place that we like better than here. Certainly, like, we love South Dakota, Wyoming, those parts of the country, beautiful places to go hiking, but just was something about being here that we love even better. So.
And you're a product of our Career Tech Center, right? I
am.
think everyone in your senior class graduated from Kent who took VOTEC went into that field.
Yeah,
about.
so when I was in school at Kennett, we built and sold houses back then. And so I was involved in building and selling 2 of them. And
Did you have to make a little pump lamp? I had to make that.
Oh yeah, that was
in wood shop.
That was,
I was awful.
That was in
oh my
was
God.
It Hollis Robbins
Hollis
class?
Robbins, yeah. I got put in that class. I got
Yeah.
put into that class because we moved here from England in the summer, and I was asked by Tom Tunney, the guidance counselor, if I like climbing trees. And I said, I guess. I ended up in wood shop.
Yeah.
I was way out of my element.
Yeah, no, Hollis Robbins was a great guy, and
Yeah.
that's really started in that that blue collar world, right? So everybody that I hung around with, that I graduated with, they all went off to start their own businesses right here in the valley, or they're in the trades right here in the valley. I think that's really important. That people don't realize just how great that Career Tech Center is. We have award-winning tech center going on, and the students are doing amazing. Despite some of the stuff we hear in the newspaper, they do amazing. So I was so impressed this year. I took some time to follow the criminal justice department class this year.
The
And
mock trial group?
I went away with them for a couple of mock trials. I was so impressed with how professional the kids were and how they represented Kennett. And I think they came in 6th overall out of 14 teams, and it was the first year they've ever entered.
And we had an Eagle get top juror. I mean, that was pretty
Yeah,
good.
top juror, yeah. So, they did a fantastic job. So, those are the things that I think, they take these jobs and they go into real world jobs after these Career Tech Center classes.
So how do you guys think our district's doing, the SAU, or Conway School District? Mel, do you think we're going in the right direction, or?
I think we're coming to the end of our transition time. We're getting a little bit more comfortable. We still haven't figured some things out. I mean, obviously something like the 6th grade is still kind of changing year to year. We still have to figure where the puzzle pieces fit, but I think that we're going in the right direction. I feel like we just need to find a way to staff our schools correctly and completely, find a way to get families in our schools more, and our parents and our kids feeling more connected to the staff in the school buildings. I mean, they used to have K through 6 in one building, so that was 7 years. Now it's only 3 years, 3 years, 3 years. So these families don't have all that time to bond with the guidance counselor, the principal, all of the staff. So it's easy to be negative when you don't feel connected to your child's school. So I feel like there needs to be some more effort put into that to get families more involved.
Is that just kind of getting the PTO more involved, or do we have a PTO? I don't honestly know.
We do. It could definitely use an amp up, and more families should be involved. But I'm not just meaning that. I mean, if, say, schools had a meeting once a month where a couple staff members could stay there for just a coffee, and parents can come in and say hi and ask questions about what's happening in the school, and just get to know the staff, and just so they have a connection, so they have someone to ask questions when something's going wrong instead of going and complaining. I think that that would help tremendously.
Yeah. Mike, what do you think of how's the district doing?
Well, there's no question that there's need for improvement. However, I believe we've put stuff in place over the last couple of years to help with that, and I think I've been a big part of that. I was certainly the driving force behind the career curriculum coordinator, and Krista Bechet, and certainly professional development, the way that that's been reorganized. I think that I'm very, very pleased with the fact that we are, doing a K2 and 3-5 building. There is certainly some challenges, as Melanie just pointed out. However, I like the fact that all the students from each grade are under the same building. I like the fact that we're now teaching everything the same way, as opposed to 3 different buildings. There's a lot to be said for that. We're already starting to see a pretty good uptick in some progress and some growth. But as there are challenges still, right? So how do you get parents to get more involved, right? I think that's probably the bigger question. And I'm not sure there's a great answer for that. When parents reach out to me, I do everything I can to respond to them immediately. And if I can't answer their questions, I certainly try to get them to the right staff member that can answer that. But you'd be amazed at how many people don't reach out. They just don't, and I don't really know why. I don't have a great answer as to how to, when my kids were in school, myself and my wife had those relationships, as Melanie pointed out. And, I think there are still parents that do, but not all of them. And I wish that they were more involved, no question about it.
I remember, I think it was your second meeting in your return to the school board, you kind of asked Kevin Carpenter, I want to find a way that we can have every student in this school connect and find their reason to come to school. Do you think we've achieved that, or are we getting closer? Or?
I don't think we've achieved that.
No?
And some of those things have a price tag involved. So I believe at the time there was about 70% students that had what I called extracurricular stuff.
Yeah.
They did something else in the school except for on top of education. And I think that varies depending upon what time of year it is, based on the sports and so on and so forth. But at the time when I asked the question, I want to say it was around 70%. And my thrust, and we haven't got there, is what about the other 30%? So let's just say that there's some percentage of that 30% that goes to work, right? So that's what they do. Like, I had 2 full-time jobs, or not full-time, but I had 2 jobs when I was in high school. I wasn't able to do extracurricular work because my parents didn't have any money, and I worked 7 days a week all through school. I had 2 jobs. So that kind of person, that young student, is not what I'm talking about. They've got activities going on. They're going to school for an education, and they're going out to work to support their family or themselves. What I'm talking about is the ones that, when the school bell rings at the end of the day, they have nothing to do. And nobody's asking them, what do you want to be a part of? And I do believe that is a huge question for me. And frankly, I haven't got that answered in 3 years. I have been focused on a lot of other things, as you well know.
Yeah.
I think that's something that you can grab the horns on that one.
Yeah.
Because I know Melody's going to make it in.
I was on the same page when I was on the board. I was in full support of that.
You were very much in favor of that. And how do we connect with those kids? That's what I don't want anyone to fall through the cracks.
Right.
I want everyone to have a great high school experience.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's community involvement. I mean, finding just something that will spark that interest. I mean, unfortunately, I feel like with COVID, we lost a lot of participation in a lot of sports.
Yeah.
Kids just got used to being home, and they were comfortable. They didn't want to change out of something try hard, run. I don't want to do that.
I know.
I'd rather play video games. We don't want that. Like, we need to get them into something that sparks their interest. And the only way we're going to do that is by probably offering samples of little clubs. I mean, I know the after school program, Project Succeed, they do a great job because they introduce so many different activities. So some kids become interested in theater because of Project Succeed or Lego Club or whatever it is, and that carries on to middle school. But you don't catch every kid there.
No, unfortunately.
So we just have to find other ways.
Just a quick example of when I was on the board 20 years ago, I brought the same subject up. And as a result of that question, the chess club and the robotics club was created. just two simple little clubs that are still,
They're thriving.
thriving, and
Yeah.
and that's the kind of goal that I would want, is to, and I think Katie at the middle school last year created a couple of new things, because because we kept asking questions.
We got a mountain bike club
Mountain bike
Yep.
club,
Yeah.
and I think there just needs
an
to be
art
more.
club. There's an after-school art club with Kristen Coleman.
And she's doing a phenomenal job with that group. My granddaughter belongs to that group, and she loves the class.
Does she
So,
really?
Yeah, Kristen's doing awesome.
Oh, that's good.
But you can't do those things without people to run them.
Right.
I know. And,
So,
and then you've got people. Some people just say we offer too much. We're offering too much at the school, and it's hard for me to say we don't offer too much, and sometimes I think we don't offer enough. I mean, the school has just taken on such a role where they've had some of our teachers have had to step up and be a little bit more of a parent. And
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't have family liaisons when we were in school. I mean,
I would completely disagree with the premise that we offer too much, and I'll go back to my time in high school. First of all, I loved high school. I got to go hang out with my friends and have fun, right? But if I didn't have the vocational world that I was in at the time, I probably would have been one of those kids that just quit and went to work. I'm not afraid of working with my hands. I've had a job since I was 12 years old. I've never been without one. And had I not enjoyed school so much, had I not loved the programs that were in the school at the time, why don't I just go to work? Because that's what I'm going to do anyways, when I graduate. And thank God that I loved being there so much that I never left, and now have the opportunity to try to make it better,
and similarly, I was the same way with sports. I mean, I had no reason to, I didn't love school. There was maybe 2 subjects I absolutely loved. Everything else felt like torture. I just hated being there. But I was
you never ate
there.
in the cafeteria, as I recall.
Right? I was there, and I was there on time because I knew that I couldn't play sports if I didn't.
Yeah.
And that was my whole world. So if kids have a reason to be there, then they will be. This is why we're having so many kids getting into trouble, and because they just don't have that passion. They haven't found that place for them yet. So
Is that a common theme at the dinner table, the Lebels? Just what makes you want to go to school, kiddos, the boys?
my kids, they're
Yeah.
all about soccer.
They're all about soccer. They really are. From Europe to you name it.
Yep.
World Cup fever, I'm sure they've got.
Basketball, soccer,
Yeah.
snowboarding, they're all,
So, tuition contracts, that's kind of the biggie that's going on right now. And Mike, you've been involved with those. And we've got contracts with, do we have contracts with Albany, Eaton, and Bartlett in place? Or is it something that Conway's still got to vote on? Or where are we with the contracts?
So those contracts are signed by the sending towns, the 4 sending towns that are in SAU. So Albany, Eaton, Bartlett, Jackson, they're signed. Their voters have signed and approved those contracts. The anticipation is next year Conway will put a warrant article out there to finalize our end of it. Our legal team saying we don't need to, but that would be my intention. So
Yeah.
hopefully, getting back on the board, that would be my intention going forward into next year is to get the approval from the voters for long-term contracts. But again, the legal team doesn't say that we need that.
There's still more work to be done, right, with the southern towns?
So great question. So we've had some issues with the sending towns. Okay. And this could get lengthy, but
it's fine.
So as you know, we have kind of declared an impasse with Freedom. Okay, but the reality is that Freedom doesn't want to be at the table with Randy Davidson any longer. That's really the holdup.
Is that the crux?
That's the crux. They do not want to be at the table with him any longer. And unfortunately, I think my opponent in this position is aligning herself with Randy. And hopefully that's not the case. I don't know that for sure, but that's what I'm being told. And frankly, we had a meeting with Madison last night, and there's some breaking news that Madison was ready to walk out last night because of his behavior.
Oh my gosh.
And Tamworth has said they won't meet with us until after their reorganization because they're waiting to see what happens for our election. All 3 of those towns want to be back at the table. All 3 of those towns want to come to Conway. You know, there's no question that we've done our due diligence too, as far as what would Kingswood offer them, what would Freiburg offer them, what would Mountain Borough offer them. We're all in the same price range as to dollar figures, right? So our goal is we have to fix, you know, our education, which I believe Dr. Frechette and her staff is working on. And then we have to convince people that have been in a relationship with us for 100 years to stay here. And, you know, in order to do that, you need to treat them with respect and dignity. And unfortunately, you've seen some of the behavior on, you know, our own school board meetings, and they up to here with that type of behavior, you know. So I'm very confident that, you know, if I can get back in on the board, we will finalize a contract with all 3 of those towns. I'm looking forward to being able to do that. But if we don't get those 3 towns to get back in, education in Conway will dramatically change. How we see it today, we will never see it again. There's a lot of students that come up from those sending towns. There's a lot of dollars that come with them. And those school boards down in SAU 13, they want to see those programs in place. But if those students don't come,
Probably about 140 kids.
yeah, the Career Tech Center is going to take a devastating hit. The AP and the college programs and all that stuff that we have at Kennett is going to take a devastating hit if those kids don't come. And we are going to have to completely realign how we do stuff in Conway. It is vitally important that we renegotiate those contracts. And the most important part, you know, as I sit here and talk to the sending towns, we just want to be fair to everybody. So the contracts that we were under for the last 20 years, because of the language in them, and I'm not faulting anybody as to who wrote them. In fact, nobody from Conway wrote those. Those were written by people that live in the valley outside of Conway. But they created a disparity between different towns. For example, Tamworth was paying $16,000 a student to go to Kennett, and Jackson and Eaton were up in the 30,000 something. I don't even remember what the number was, but it was a crazy number, right? So how do you convince Jackson or Eaton to send your kid up to Kennett when Tamworth's paying $16,000 and they're paying 30-something thousand? So our goal, we tried that formula for a while. When I first got back on the board, the suggestion was, you know, just kind of stick with the same formula, convince them to keep coming. And frankly, we just couldn't do that. They just weren't getting it. No one was buying it. So we completely revamped our strategy, and we came up with the theory, let's just charge everybody what cost per student is based on the state deal.
Average daily membership.
Average daily membership. And when we made that pivot, we instantly got the 4 towns up north to say, yep, we're in, right? There was some challenges with Jackson, and we worked that out. We've got a contract with them. We're happy with that. And however, because of what I just mentioned, you know, for the southern towns were like, we don't think that, you know, we're going to be treated properly. And now I need to convince them that they will. And I need to get it in writing that they will be. So that's what I look forward to, is to make sure that they are all treated equally, fairly, and frankly that, you know, I don't want, for me personally, I can't have any of the sending towns asking for any particular tweaking of a contract that's going to affect another town, because I don't want that other town to say, hey, Conway, you know, my cost is this because of what Conway did. You know, I want everybody on the same page. And that's what I'm working towards.
Mel, have you been following the contract situation? Do you got some thoughts on that one?
I mean, I would love to see everybody stay here.
Would you? Oh, good.
Obviously. I mean, I hope that everybody would. But I mean, it's huge when these local towns that have been here forever decide, you know what, I'm going to send my kids to Freiburg. It's crazy to me. Like, we're obviously failing somewhere. We need to find a way to keep everybody and treat them all equally and the same, and give everybody the same deal here. I mean,
so what would your vision be for education here in the Valley? We've got the school choice coming up. We've got all this sort of stuff. Would you like to see like a regional school district, or do Do you got any thoughts on that one? Or?
I got plenty, but I'll let her go first if she wants to.
That
Good thing we're not competing against each other at all. So yeah, you go, I'll go. I don't care, but I got plenty on that one. So
yes, and we've discussed that in the past. I would not be against that. I don't know what other people think on that. I don't think it's been a teletalk question yet,
No.
but
And we've talked about co-ops in the past, but we've
Right.
never kind of gone to the regional.
regionally, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that, I mean, maybe that might be a good way to go. I mean, it just depends on, I mean, obviously we own the buildings and we're responsible for them. So it just has to be divided equally so that, I mean, we're not left footing the bill for too many other people's issues, you know?
Yeah.
So my theory on the whole regional school, and let's just say, I'm just going to call it regional as opposed to a co-op or anything else. I don't know the legal particulars on that terminology, but when I use the word regional school, I kind of think of it as like a Kingswood where, you know, they kind of administer all the schools around, right? So I do believe it's time to have that conversation. SAU 13 is roughly 1.5 million or so, just an administrative cost. We are what, 2.2 million. Certainly that should be combined, right? That alone is some savings. We have 45 school board members between SAU 13 and SAU 9 making decisions for these kids. The problem is that the sending towns don't have a voice at the Conway table. And that's probably, for me, that's the biggest problem, is the thing with tuition contracts, that as we try to put this together, is how do we get a voice, right? So in the existing contracts, there was language in there that each town could come before the Conway School Board, but everybody interpreted that paragraph in that contract as the SAU 9 meetings or the joint area meetings.
Yeah.
And that's never what it was intended for. It was direct, you know, Tamworth chairperson calls up the Conway chairperson and says, hey, I want to get on your agenda. That's what it was for. We actually have cleaned up that language specifically to say you have the right to come before us anytime you want, directly to the Conway School Board. That still doesn't give them a vote on the Conway School Board, but it allows the Conway School Board to hear their concerns directly as opposed to the SAU 9 or SAU or the area board, right? You know, and I'm just a big believer that if you're sending your kids here, you should have a direct voice. So what I envision is that, you know, some type of regional development is created, and you know, Tamworth has a representative, Madison has a representative, Freedom has a, you know, we all have a representative up here.
A board of perhaps 9, the 9
board
towns.
of 9 towns. Maybe Conway gets 2 because we have the vast majority of the students. I don't know. I don't know the makeup of that. I'm just pointing,
Right.
you know, that we have more kids than all of the other ones. But more importantly, they would have that direct voice. They would have a direct voice as to who the superintendent is. They would have a direct voice as to who the principals are. You know, they would have a direct voice on curriculum. They don't have that now. So what they have to do is come to us and ask, but they haven't in 20 years. To my knowledge, there's never been a school board that has come directly up to Conway to say, hey, I want to have a meeting with you.
Well, I've never seen a representative from the SAU 13 on the Conway Budget Committee when that seat's been available to them for
Correct.
Right.
30 plus years.
So 3 years ago, I'll
you're
finish in
fine.
a second. 3 years ago when I was chair, I went to all the sending towns and to all their school board meetings, and I said, listen, anytime you want to come up to Conway and talk to us, just let me know. I'll get you on the agenda. It'll be a back and forth, not a public comment stuff, which is ridiculous, by the way. I want to have a back and forth conversation with these sending towns, and frankly, nobody's taken advantage of it.
Mel?
Yeah. No, I just remember when I was on the board, I pushed the issue a few times. I said, how do we get it so that every single town can have a voice?
Yeah.
And legally, right now, they just can't, the way things are, and that needs to change.
So, John Fuller School, what do you think? You guys kind of you were on the board when we had to close it, right?
Yep, that was my very first meeting, was to vote to close John Fuller. I'll never forget
Was
it.
it really? Oh, Mel.
That was a horrible night.
That was a horrible night.
Yeah. But I mean, you guys, because of the default budget, your hands are forced, right? You really didn't have, you wanted to push it back a year.
Unless you wanted to take more away from the kids. So yeah.
Yeah, it was a really hard decision for you guys.
I can't say it was 100% forced. I think there could have been things, but educationally it was the right thing to do because don't forget we were trying to solve two issues. We were trying to save some money and help with education. Closing the building allowed us to put all the grades into one building, right? Mm-hmm. That was the best thing educationally we could have done. At the same time, we were trying to save, I think it was $1.5 million or something to that effect. Could we have made massive cuts in other areas to get to that 1.5? Probably so, but
would have been staff, right?
But when you're looking at both problems together, you know, getting all the kids in one building and cutting the 1.5, the decision to close the building was the best way to go.
And to add to that, I mean, you're talking about cutting staff, but when we had 3 elementary schools, we didn't have a full staff in any of the schools. So when you cannot staff your schools and we're forced to, I mean, it seems like the only option is to have to close the building so that at least all these kids can have an adequate amount of staff and help and where they need it.
So we've heard the term YMCA. I don't do it very well, but what do you think about a YMCA on that property? Does that make some sense? Or I mean, we've got some options. I know you've talked about wanting to do something with the medical field there, and daycare is a huge issue here in our valley. What do you think, Mel?
So when we first made the John Fuller Committee, that was the very first thing I said. I would love to see a YMCA there.
Was it really?
Yep.
Oh, gosh.
But I did some research, talked to a lot of people, and that's not going to happen. It's not possible. I mean, there's just so much renovations and we would need more year-round residents to even pull that off. They wouldn't do that here.
You don't think?
No. Ooh. But anywho.
I was psyched for a pool.
I would have loved that, but I just don't think it's possible. But I mean, we've created this committee and we have a lot of knowledgeable people on there. I don't think the Conway School Board itself is unfortunately the best group of people to be making that choice for the whole town of Conway. I feel like my personal opinion is that I say put a time limit on it, maybe a year, and have the committee come up with 3 solid options that the board agrees to, and then put it on the ballot.
Ooh, ballot question.
Give everybody a chance to weigh in on it.
So let's not forget that because of the way the bond was written and signed, we can't do anything until October anyways, okay? Which, by the way, Randy Davison signed that clause in the contract that stopped us from doing anything until October. Yeah, amazing. So, and then he criticizes all of us because we haven't sold it already. But anyways, I don't think the YMCA issue is anywhere near dead. I think there's a tremendous amount of fundraising already going on behind the scenes that I'm aware of. There's been, you know, upwards of $3 or $4 million pledged already, from what I've heard. So I don't think that's a done deal as far as saying no. My first concern was how would it affect the North Conway Community Center and even our own rec center, right? I would love to see a portion of that building used for the YMCA or, so let's back up just a hair. The committee is kind of broken out into different areas and people are working on certain things. There are some that are working on the YMCA idea. There are some that are working on some housing ideas. I've been working on a medical facility idea and a pre-K or daycare location. So those conversations take time, right? There's a lot of money that's involved in these decisions, a lot of ideas, a lot of, you know, and you got to get the right players in place. So as you know, I had a lot of conversations with the hospital early on. That was very positive. As it finally went up the chain of command, they weren't sure what they were going to do because of the space that they have now, okay? However, a medical facility is not dead. You know, I've got meetings coming up next week specifically for another organization. And the most important part of any of these decisions is, let's say for me, what I'm working on, I need somebody that's going to lease out a good portion of that building, possibly, not possibly, they'd have to participate and pay for renovations for what the building needs. But I need them to be in an area in the leasing price that's going to somewhat supplement a organization that wants to go in there for daycare. And when I use the word daycare, we use it very loosely because we got a survey that's getting ready to go out trying to figure out what are the needs of daycare in this valley. And I'll just use my niece for an example. She came up here as a single mom. She came up from Manchester, who had a location down there where her daughter could go for between the hours of 7 in the morning and 7 at night, if she needed that. She didn't, but then she got here. There's 14 locations here in town. The only place that she could go to is a place that from 9 to 1. What single mom that doesn't have crazy support behind her can have a job when you're only allowed to go work from 9 to 1? You just can't do it. You look at the employees at the hospital. A lot of them work up there 12-hour shifts, so they're gone 13 hours a day. What are you doing with your child when you're gone 13 hours a day? These are some of the things that we could work on and help answer. What do employees in the valley do after 3 o'clock in the afternoon? Because half of our employees are starting work at 3 or 4 in the afternoon in these restaurants, right? So what do they do? And if we could find the right tenant for that building that could completely get that building off the taxpayer rolls or burden and fix some of our childcare issues within the valley, I think it would be a win-win for everybody. And that's what I'm working on. Others are working on the YMCA theory. Again, there's others that are working on some housing issues. Did you see the thing we put out with, I think it was like 12 houses that we were going to put out there? They were, close together. They were, I think they were in that $350,000 to $400,000 range to buy. That's just an idea the committee's working on. And that only used up about 2.5 acres of land.
Yeah, it was in the back corner of the school.
I think one of the things that we've seen very clear from the people in the valley, they don't want us to sell that property. There is a few people out there that do, but the vast majority of people don't want us to sell it. It's 11 acres of land in the middle of North Conway that we would never, ever get back for the rest of eternity. And if you do the analysis of if we sold it, how would that affect your taxes? By the time you're done paying off the bond and your real estate fees and all that other nonsense that comes out of any revenue, it turns out that everybody in town can get it like $50. Or not everybody, every property.
Yeah.
Not every person. So is that really worth it to give up 11 acres of land in North Conway? As opposed to create an environment where we can get revenue off of that building for the next 20, 30 years until something happens where we decide we need that property back. Conway's not the only town that's losing young people in the state. The whole state's getting older. At a state level, we need to figure out how to get younger people back into the state working, but that's not Conway's issue. I mean, we're not going to solve that. So,
Mel, what would you like to see at John Fuller? A school?
Obviously, the school board has agreed with the committee that it's the best idea not to sell it right now. I'm on the same page as Mike and the school board with, it's a property we're never going to get back. It's a valuable location that we could use for our town. We just need to make sure that it's not something our taxpayers are paying for just to sit there idle. So I think a decision needs to be made as long as it's not as long as it fits in that neighborhood peacefully and serves our community in some way, I'm happy with it.
I think I've asked all my tough questions. Is there a topic or anything that I haven't touched on that you guys wanted to bring up or get out? Or I'll just give you the floor to say your closing statements to the voters, and the floor is yours. If you want to go first, Mel, or Mike?
You go first.
All right. So I have 4 kids. We own a local business, and I'm involved in our community. I coach a couple different sports. My 4 boys are involved in sports and community things, and we know a lot of people in town. So I think my biggest draw is that I hear from so many people what the good and the bad is. So I can bring all of that to the board to help improve our school system.
Well said. Mike?
So first of all, thanks for having us on here.
Oh, happy to have you guys. I love it.
Again, I want to point out that Melanie and I are not competing for positions.
No,
You know,
hopefully
she-
be on the board together.
Unfortunately, my competitor has chosen not to debate me. She had an opportunity last Tuesday night and did not.
A candidate forum at the Lobster.
Candidate
Trap,
forum
right?
at the Lobster Trap. She was there and then left. You've obviously offered the opportunity to do it here, and I open my calendar and schedule to any time that would fit the needs. And you know, I do believe when you're running for a school board, you have to realize that first of all, it's a huge commitment. There's lots of hours involved, and more importantly, you have to be available. You have to put yourself out there, and you can't not participate in this stuff. You know, people want to know who you are and what you believe in, and you just have to do that. So that, you know, which is why we're here. But I think anybody that's been involved, let's say the first time, and I'm sure Melanie would agree with this, when you're on a school board for the first time, the first year, you're just trying to figure out where you fit in and how this all works. You know, it takes time to do it. And, you know, for someone to run for a position that's never been involved in anything before and do that in a one-year slot is tough. I wish that she would come forward and, you know, debate me before the election and tell people what her ideas are, what her thoughts are, and how she's going to change something better or different than I will. And I think that would be a fair thing to do for both of us. So I look forward to hopefully this getting aired and getting
Yeah,
a phone
we're
call
gonna be on the air.
for another interview. So, you know.
Well, thank you guys so much.
If I can add just one more thing,
Yeah.
like Mike said, I mean, I did do that. I
She
was,
did.
for the first time, I was on there for 1 year. And it was tough because the majority of the time you're figuring things out. How do things work? How does this, you know, what do I do? And then once I got the hang of it, I was done.
You're ready to hit the
So-
ground running, both of you.
She's going to have
So
an
I can
advantage.
step right in now.
Yeah.
I mean, there are other people that are trying to step in for the first time. And I can already step in and know what I'm doing.
Right. Melanie's going to have an advantage over the candidate that she's running against because she's been there, she's seen how it works, and that, you know, she's not going to have that learning curve that she had the first year that she came in. So I look forward to hopefully working with her in the future and getting some stuff done. And I'm going to let her lead the charge on the extracurricular stuff there. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
Love it.
Okay.
Good. All right. So for Mike DiGregorio running for a one-year seat, there's one seat open. Melanie Lebel running for one of 3 seats there that are open for 3 years. Voting takes place on April 14th, Tuesday, April 14th, right around the corner. Polls are open from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the Center Conway Town Garage. So please come out and vote. You can register to vote same day of. So for Mike DiGregorio, Melanie Lebel, I'm Lloyd Jones. Rob Struble makes it all happen behind the camera. Thanks for watching the conversation with the candidates. Thanks, guys, so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect. You guys